Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. Hello and welcome to episode 106, I think it's 106, of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. Now, if you're tuning in for another summer special, Luke's scuppered your plans, unfortunately. He's managed to go and get himself a dose of COVID, so he's doing the right thing. He's isolating. He's been a bit of a pussy, and he can't do the summer special that we had planned, so we'll have to do that another time. Some good news for you that are waiting for the normal 90s stuff to start again. Next week we will be back to the normal format. Dave will be back, Luke will be recovered, and we will have our first guest back, so be sure to tune in next week if you're waiting for the 90s stuff to start again. To get us ready for that, and because Luke's unfortunately not well with the old COVID, we've decided to put out a classic rerun, another classic rerun. We did this with the Body Bottom episode, and this week we are doing it with the Miles Hunt Wonderstuff episode. Okay, so this was one that went down really well, and if you haven't heard it already, then this is a good chance to listen to that one. And if you've listened to it before, then just have a re-listen. It's a really good one with Miles. He's a lovely guy, really engaging, and we think you'll enjoy it. So we're going to put that out this week. Next week, we are back to normal services. So if you are watching, then please do subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, get involved in the comments. If you are listening, then if you can rate, review, and share it with your friends. And if you're watching it, share it with your friends as well. The best way for people to find the podcast is for you to share it. So if we put something on Facebook, please do share it on your pages. And yeah, anything we put out, basically, if you can share that as much as you can, then we really appreciate it. It really does help other people find the podcast who are of a similar demographic and like all the 90s stuff. So please do that for us. We've got the Stupid app that Dave put together. So if you go on the App Store, download the Stupid app, and you go from the podcast to the mixtape seamlessly. Luke makes a mixtape each week to go with each podcast. Don't forget, you can sponsor the podcast. Email us at stupidandcontagiousPodcast@gmail.com if you're a band, or if you are a record label, merch seller, anything like that, or just anything in general. If you want to shout out someone, email us at the Stupid and Contagious Podcast. Not there, just email us at stupidandcontagiousPodcast@gmail.com, and you can sponsor an episode of the podcast. So remember that you can do that. So next week, normal services resume. We will all see you then. But for the meantime, here is Miles from the Wonderstuff, the interview that he did for us last year. So enjoy. Luke, tell us a bit about the Wonderstuff for people that don't know.
All right. Have you got a descriptor for me?
Hang on, let me get it instantly for you. Oh my God, yeah. Alternative rock band. They use that all the time, don't they?
Yeah, it's a catch-all, isn't it? They're in the Grebo scene, so indie Grebo, that kind of thing. So I won't go into too much detail because he actually goes into quite a thorough kind of explanation of it in the interview. But they formed in Stourbridge in 1986, so mid-80s, and before that, as he explains in the interview, from 1981, they were in a band called. So there was a band called From Eden. So this band had Miles and Malcolm from the Wonderstuff, and also Clint and Adam from Future Popular Itself members.
Have you heard any of their stuff?
No, I couldn't find it online either.
No, I don't know if there is anything around. No, but I'd like to hear it. It'd be interesting to hear what that sounded like. But.
So basically, Miles got kicked out of the band, and they went. It explains it pretty well, but yeah, they kind of went their separate ways, and the Wonderstuff, kind of the classic lineup was put in place. That's Miles Hunt up front. Did you know that his uncle was in Wizard? And as a keyboard player.
Didn't know that.
Malcolm Treese, Rob the Bass Thing Jones, and Martin Gilks.
Is that his real name, Rob the Bass Thing?
Yeah. Basically, it's signed to Polydor at their first album in 1988, Eight-Legged Groove Machine. Do you want to hear how Melody Maker described it at the time?
Yes.
Immaculately crafted, unmistakably British pop songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how you describe it?
Oh, sorry, I haven't finished it. All of the requisite 3-minute length. That's a Melody Maker quote.
Right.
What was the biggest hit off that one?
It was It's Your Money, I'm After Baby. Well, it got top 40, but number 40. So it hit the top 40. Just
scraped.
And there was another track, A Wish Away, was also a single from that. That was reasonably well known as well.
That was before our time, though, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. 88. So
yeah, we weren't cool enough then to listen to that sort of stuff.
But to me, it sounds a bit more like early 90s indie rather than 80s indie. It doesn't really sound that 80s. Second album came out a year later, in 1989. Hub singles from that, Don't Let Me Down Gently, got to number 19, so a top 20 hit, which got them a spot on top of the pops. Yeah, and another track, Golden Green, was released as a single. Rob, the bass thing, left the band and went to America. And sadly died a few years later, died in 1993.
Oh, fuck. Didn't know that. That's always sad. Yeah.
Drugs.
Dave hates that story, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
Too common.
It's a waste.
Yeah, and apparently his girlfriend, or I don't think they ever got married, was like an ex-girlfriend of Sid Vicious. So I guess she had a thing for junky rock stars. I don't know. But yeah. I don't know if that's true or not. I just read that somewhere. I haven't seen it anywhere else, so maybe it's completely wrong. If it is, then
it's slanderous if it is.
Yeah, it's not really. I'm not really accusing anyone of anything. It's not really slander.
Nah.
I'm not sure exactly when, but around this time, Miles married Mary Ann Hobbs, the Radio 1 DJ. So they're kind of building up their fan base. By now, like the whole Grebo scene's kind of come together. You got Neds, Populate Yourself, all three of them from Stourbridge, right? Which is insane if you think about it. It's like three big bands coming out of Seaford or something like that, right? It's pretty amazing.
I don't know. Stourbridge is big.
I think it might be a bit bigger than that. But...
Is it?
Similar.
Yeah.
Eastbourne?
Eastbourne, yeah.
Let's say Eastbourne.
Yeah.
It's like three top loaders coming out of Eastbourne.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, at the same time.
Hell.
At the same time.
Yeah. Horrendous.
You should ask them on.
I think we've probably blown that one.
Yeah, they might listen.
We'll try.
I can live without having them on.
I'd love to talk about Uncle's Big Mocker and who come up with a name.
Thing is, Dave really likes them. You could do. You might have to interview him by yourself.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it.
Uncle's Big Mocker.
I haven't heard Uncle's Big Mocker, no.
Give it a listen.
It might be a masterpiece.
Yeah, imagine if it's brilliant.
A lot of people have. That fucker sold millions of copies, man.
Yeah, only because of that they released that song 15 times.
That was the cover. So, yeah, building up momentum, playing loads of gigs, touring the country, the Grebo scene's going strong, everything's great. And so then they had their big hit, The Size of a Cow, came out. I think it came out just before the album. Top 5, so number 5, which is a big hit, right? Especially at that time, you had to sell a lot of records to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so third album was their biggest album, basically. So Never Loved Elvis came out. Catapulted them into the pop stratosphere, basically. They became more of a pop band than an indie band. So again, we talk about it a lot in the interview, so won't go into it now.
It's massive, wasn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, 4 singles, Size of a Cow, number 5, Welcome to the Cheap Seats, number 8 in the charts, Caught in My Shadow, 18, Sleep Alone, all big hits. And then they followed that up with their number 1 smash with Vic and Bob of Dizzy, which was great.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. Have you seen the Top of the Pops? I watched that a few weeks ago.
Really I remember it at the time. I haven't
recently.
rewatched it. You know, everyone loved Vic and Bob at the time as well. So it's just a really good collab, wasn't it?
It's good. It's fun. So yeah, they hit their peak basically. And then their 4th album didn't come out for a couple of years. That's Construction for the Modern Idiot. Again, Miles talks about it a lot in the interview, but it seems like their heart wasn't quite in it by that point.
No.
Although they were still having hits. Their On the Ropes EP got to number 10. They had another couple of top 40 hits from it as well. But they, by the end, they'd had enough of each other, and they broke up in 1994.
Yeah.
Miles formed Vent 414 almost immediately. They had a much kind of rockier kind of rock sound and totally new look. Like Miles got like a shaved head, like tight black t-shirts.
That's right.
They were like, heads down kind of rock band. And that first album, which I've been trying to get a copy of for a while, that was produced by Steve Albini.
Was it? I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God rest his soul. Yeah. We'll talk about it afterwards, but yeah, obviously Morgan's on that one. And
yeah. So Morgan
great,
from Senseless Things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderstuff kind of got back together in 2001, and they've continued ever since in various different guises. Basically, according to the list on Wikipedia, there's 18 kind of members and past members listed. So it's just kind of different kind of incarnations have been going on and off for the last 20 odd years. Miles has been doing some solo stuff, enjoying life, the odd Wonderstuff gig, and they're doing some I think 35th anniversary of Hup, the record Hup tour this year. So yeah, that's where we're at with the Wonderstuff.
Yeah, I mentioned it briefly in the interview, but yeah, I saw them at Shine On. They were great. Let's have a listen to the interview, and we'll come back and we'll have a chat about what we heard, watched, etc. Yeah?
Yeah. Come on.
Do it.
Fuck yeah.
Here's Miles Hunt from the Wonderstuff. Enjoy. Miles, thanks so much for coming on. How's it all going? You're on a solo tour at the moment, is that right?
It's not really a tour. I just do occasional acoustic gigs, mainly around the weekends to keep myself out of trouble. Well, keep myself out of the pub, basically. It's just too tempting where I live just to spend all my time. And you know, now the pub garden's open. And,
it's tempting, right?
It is very tempting. So I was going to ask, so how come we're doing this at lunchtime? Don't you two have jobs?
Well, this is Luke's fault.
It was my fault. I'm in Tokyo. So
are you?
It's 9 o'clock at night over here. So I've finished for the day. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes. So we have to sort of work it around his weird time over there.
I've not got a passport anymore on purpose because I don't want anyone to make me go anywhere. I've spent my life going to places under duress. But the only place I would consider going to again and therefore having to renew my passport is Tokyo.
Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah. Go
and say, look, he'll take you out.
Yeah, come on. Come for a beer. The beer gardens are on top of the department stores over here. They're high up in the city. They're cool.
Right. I didn't know that. Last time we turned up there's a fella, wait, I don't know how they know what flight you're on. I don't know how they know what hotel you're staying at, but there he is at the airport waving. Then when you get to the hotel, he's waiting at the door. He knows you're going to load in. And he's got all his old Wonderstuff records with him, and he wants them all signed. And it's brilliant. And so I looked at him and I said, Erica walked into the lobby and said, "You're not going to like this. No one's smoking in the lobby of the hotel." And so I looked at him and I'm like, "What's happening?" And because I've always thought of, other than walking down the street, once you're indoors, smoking is compulsory in Tokyo, but they're cracking down on it. So no one's smoking in the hotel.
Yeah.
And so I looked at this guy and I'm like, "What's your name?" And he said, "Kazu." And I says, "Kazu, I need an indoor environment where I can have a beer and a fag in about 15 minutes. Can you take us there?" And he took us to, sadly, he took us to an Irish bar.
Right.
So Irish bars in Ireland, fine, but I don't go all the way to Tokyo to sit in a faux Irish bar.
No,
So I'm like, this is good, and I know how you know you have to watch all your P's and Q's when you're dealing with Japanese people. So I didn't want to be rude at all. And he's like, you like, and I'm like, it's all right. It's a sort of a Japanese bar, and that was even nearer to the hotel. So I think he just tried to find us somewhere that felt like home.
Right.
And then we spent the next 3 nights in this brilliant little Japanese bar right by the hotel. Yeah, it was great. But and we kept him out with us 3 nights in a row, and the poor guy had a job, and
That's great.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
I last saw you guys play at Shine On last year. How was
yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Yeah, did you enjoy that one? It was good, wasn't it? I enjoyed it anyway.
I like Shine On. I do. I mean, I'm there pretty much every year in one guise or another. I don't think I had a good gig that night. We'd played in the summer, and we were playing sort of smaller venues. We weren't doing the O2s. We were doing like college rooms and smaller independent venues. And I'd really got used to how the sound is on stage when you got the drum kit up your arse. And I'm like, oh, I like this. I like this. And so stepping out onto the Shine On, I mean, it's entirely my own fault because they offered us a sound check the day before. So I could have been aware of that sort of cavernous sound, and I've done it. I've headlined that like three times before. So I personally didn't have my favorite gig. I came off in a bit of a mood. I just felt no connection with the band, and probably more importantly, I felt no connection with the audience. It just felt too cavernous, so I wasn't prepared. But as I say, entirely my own fault. And when we came off stage, everyone was like, "That was great." So
the crowd loved it, didn't they? Yeah, it's like a big old tent in it, Shine On. So it's a big old room to sort of fill the sound with. So, don't know. I really enjoyed it. Are you playing there again this year on your own, aren't you? This year?
Yeah, I'm doing one of my acoustic sets on I don't know, the center stage or Reds, one of those 2 rooms, which I think are great. They're much more comfortable for me. I mean, I wouldn't, Christ, if they asked me to do an acoustic set on that big stage, I'd just say
that's
no.
massive, isn't it? Yeah.
You gotta connect with the audience. That's the most important thing to me. And if I found it difficult with the band, then I wouldn't be able to do it on my own.
Yeah, those, like you say, those other smaller venues that Shine On, they're great anyway, aren't they? I saw Sleeper and Rialto there last year. They're cool little gigs.
Oh, great. Yeah, I saw a bit of Boo Radley's and a bit of Mickey Bereni Trio. And I've done an acoustic set in one of those rooms before, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I was sort of doing a bunch of gigs at that time where I was playing stuff from that last solo album that I did. But I looked at that audience and I spoke to a lot of people during the afternoon who weren't very happy with some of what should have been the major performances.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't try out new stuff on these people. So I put my stool away, I put my lyric book away, and I just played everything that I've got that's muscle memory that I thought they'd sing along to, and it worked. So
yeah. You've got to give them what they want, haven't you?
Exactly that. It's not my. I've come to this point now where, doing my acoustic gigs, I'm almost at war with the audience, because what happens is you get a bunch of people get together. So perfect example was like Isle of Wight. I did a year or so ago. And all these people that are sort of my age and a little bit younger have moved away from the Isle of Wight. But I was doing a weekend. So, all right, we'll go and stay with mum and dad. So they've come from the mainland. And it was a whole night of watching people go, I knew you'd be here. And so people are then all, I haven't seen you in ages. And they're all back on the island for the first time with so many of them together. And they spend the night reminiscing of what good times they had in their youth when they were all together there, which I've just got a talking audience. It's just like, shut the fuck up, Willie. I'm trying to do something here. Or shall I just stop and join you at the bar and we'll just have a night out together? And I started to think at that point, like, there's no point in asking audiences to shut up. I charge what I consider to be a fortune to watch me piss about with an acoustic guitar, and I think now it's their night, not mine. So I sort of have to go
That's a good
go with their
philosophy.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, can we go back to the beginning then? Can you talk a little bit about putting the band together and the whole kind of with Neds and Populate Yourself and everyone coming together at the same time?
Well, me and Malk out the Wonderstuff, we'd been in a band with two of PWEI itself, Clint and Adam. So that started in like 81.
81.
Yeah,
That's early. Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was only like 15. I was the drummer.
Mm.
Clint Mansell was a singer, Malk guitarist, Adam Mole keyboard player, and then there was another guy called Chris who played bass. And then they sacked me about 2 years into it. About 83, they sacked me, and I carried on drumming just for a few local bands, and they got Graham Crabb, who of course became the other singer in Potwell itself, to replace me in that band. And then they split up. Malk was at a loose end. I drummed in a band with Malk for a little bit, about 85. And then I just thought, drumming's too much like hard work. And, if I forget a lyric, the audience forgive you for it. Or if a guitarist misses a bit of a riff, nobody really cares. But if the drummer balls
Drums
this
are
up,
important, man.
it really is. I've felt sorry for every drummer that I've ever worked with, because if they mess up, it can throw everybody else off their game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the bands that I was in, they were rock bands. Honestly, I just found it exhausting. And halfway through the first song of any gig that we're doing, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end of the song. And that was my headspace for the whole of a gig when I was a drummer. So I packed that in, and then I heard Malk Treese had got a drummer and a bass player. No, he hadn't got a bass player. Yes, he had. He got a drummer and a bass player, and they were looking for a singer. By which time I was writing my own songs and making little demos, playing rhythm guitar and singing. So I called Malk, but bear in mind, he sacked me in 83. And then in 85, I left another band of his, so I left him high and dry there. So to work with me again was not a dream come true for Mal. So I just says, no, I don't want to drum. I want to have a crack at singing and playing rhythm guitar. And he's like, oh, I'll talk to the other guys. The bass player, Chris, had been the bass player in the band that we were all in 81. He wasn't keen on trying me out. And the drummer was Martin Chilks, who had been in Mighty Lemon Drops. But they auditioned me because Malk's a nice guy. And we kicked a few ideas around that I'd had. Like, I walked in there and Malk and the bass player hadn't written anything. So I'm like, well, what are we going to do? I've got a couple of songs. Do you want to do those? And so showed him those bits. And Martin Chilks was like, yeah, he's good. I'd like to work with that guy. Malk was like, actually, you're a lot better than I thought. Just don't be a cunt, Milo, and make me sack you again.
Don't be a cunt. Yeah.
That's a fair enough condition, though, isn't it? That's fair.
It really is. I mean, you can't argue with the man.
You can't. Simple as that. Yeah.
And then the
But did you
bass player
stick to it?
didn't like. No. I soon repaired into my old miserable ways. And then but the bass player didn't like it, what I was doing, so he said he wouldn't come to any more rehearsals if I was there. Fair enough. And then oddly, he'd been in a band from Coventry called Major 5, and they toured with the Pogues. They'd been the support band for the Pogues. And so Chris had to have like a roadie, a bass tech. And his bass tech was Rob the Bass Thing Jones, who had moved to London, suddenly turned up back in Stourbridge looking to be in a band. And so Malk said, would you mind? So we used to call him Punky Rob then. Would you mind if Punky Rob auditioned? And I'm like, no, not at all. So we actually had a songwriting session, like with acoustic guitars in my flat first before he came to rehearsals. And that was great. He's a very musical guy. And then, I think so that whole period took about 3 weeks, I think, because I've got in my diaries, I've got, hang on, my mom's calling.
Oh, that's just,
how do I, Mom, I'm just on another call. I'll call you back. All right, drop. Bye.
Wow. Shout out to your mum.
In the middle of the filming for what do you call it? The video that we made all those years. Yeah. Anyway, I'm pressing buttons now. Don't know what I'm doing.
You're all right.
You've gone ever so small.
You're all
Anyway,
loud and
so
clear.
So I've got in a diary the very first rehearsal of Rob joining, and then 2 weeks later we do our first gig. So there'd also been two rehearsals with Richard from Pot Will Eat Itself. Had stood in just to help us write. He was never going to join. So yeah, Punky Rob joined us, started gigging March the 19th. I remember the date, March the 19th, 1986. By September, we released a 4-track EP. By the following June, we signed to Polygram Publishing. They financed bit studio time, so we released Unbearable in the summer of 87. So we've only been together a year, more or less. And then December 87, signed to Polydor after touring with Big Country. We were the support for Big Country. A nice UK tour of theirs. So it happened really fast.
Yeah.
And we were having a good time. And we wrote the 8-Legged Groove Machine during that period. I guess by 90% of it was written by the time we signed to Polydor in end of 87. So yeah, that was the start of it. That's the beginning.
Yeah. Amazing. What sort of bands were you into at the time, around the time when you were forming the band?
Well, how about back in 81, even before that, like when you were 15 in 81, who were you listening to?
Before I met all the guys from Starbridge, I was pretty much on a solid diet of Bob Dylan.
Right.
Oh, the old punk stuff of the late 70s that me and my brother were into, all the obvious bands. And then Dylan was my thing. And then a friend of mine, by the time I was in From Eden with the Starbridge gang, a friend of mine had introduced me to the Waterboys. So it wasn't too far of a step to go from Dylan to the Waterboys. There's a big Dylan influence, obviously, with Mike Scott in those early days. So by the time Malk let me try out to be a singer, it was very, in my head, I could hear Mike Scott from the Waterboys. Obviously, nobody else could hear that. So I was pretty much on a staple diet of the Waterboys. And then I was not, like, I remember living at the flat with Clint when the Wonderstuff started, and like favorite records that I would play would be Sally McLennan by the Pogues, and She Was, Talking Heads, Waterboys. I wasn't really, but I wouldn't go and get that Pogues album, or I wouldn't go and get that Talking Heads album. I just like singles. Other than the Dylan and Waterboy stuff. Then a good mate of Clint's introduced me to Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen, which lyrically were huge influences on me. And then Malk was into all the late 70s punk stuff, and had sort of, by the mid 80s, was into the Long Riders. I suppose American sort of West Coast bands. Jilksy was just coming out of his Genesis period, but that's fine for a drummer. And was really into REM. I think it was Martin Jilks that introduced me to REM, whose albums I did go and buy. And Rob Jones was into anything from the Pogues, and then things like Napalm Death, Bomb Disneyland, harder stuff. He wanted our stuff to be harder, and I suppose I wanted it to be under 3-minute pop songs with pop song choruses, which I guess is what we did. You know, I sort of won that argument, I guess. But Bob was very melodic, so a lot of the time. Oh, and I guess we all loved the Smiths. Yeah, that would be across the four of us. Loved the Smiths, and that was again lyrical and vocal arrangement inspiration for me. And then we all loved Psychedelic Furs and the Bonnie Men, Bauhaus, and
nice mix.
Yeah. Nice mix. That's interesting. How did you see like the Wonderstuff fitting into that into the wider music scene then that was going on? Like you thought that the Smiths and like all the Bauhaus stuff. Did you see yourself as part of that?
No, we didn't have such lofty ideas. I mean, the dream, I suppose, would to get your independently produced single played by John Peel or Janice Long, which happened.
Mm.
Then or and then the real dream would be get a session with either of those DJs, which Pop Will Eat Itself had done. So we were always in the company of Pop Will Eat Itself then. So really we were just following what they were doing. Those would be our ambitions. What have the Poppies just done? And Pop Will Eat Itself were always amazing with us. Like, you should try and talk to somebody at Sounds Melody Maker or Enemy. Here's the numbers of the people we've spoken to. So without Pop Will Eat Itself, it would have been a much longer slog for us.
Yeah, it's always helpful, isn't it?
That sounds like a really kind of supportive, close-knit kind of scene. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was. And then by end of 89, maybe early 90, I think it was Clint that first met the lads from Neds Atomic Dustbin and gave them gigs, which is probably where the first time I saw Neds. And then we asked Neds to do gigs with us in 90. So yeah, it was just very much, pass it on, help out whoever you can, as long as the band's good, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
There were plenty of friends from sort of Birmingham bands that didn't really like, but they were mates. But you didn't go offering them gigs because you're like, well,
no,
get better.
What did you think of the old Grebo tag that went along with that scene? Was that
didn't care. That seemed to stick to Pop Will Eat Itself more than it did us. But by their debut album, they had 2 songs with the word Grebo in it. So they kind of did it to himself. And as far as we were concerned, it didn't care any attention. If that would probably be Terry Staunton and James Brown at Sounds and Enemy, respectively. That like to use that tag, and then they would throw Gay Bikers into it, Crazy Head into it, and
that's right.
And that was that all helped. There were similarities between the bands, and we definitely picked up those kids that were out on their thumbs on the motorways or getting the milk train home at, late at night, following our kind of bands around. And you see, before that, what we didn't like was the smaller bands that were getting major record deals. And I have no thoughts on this now, but we were kind of anti it at the time. But you had so Simple Minds had been massive. And then somebody that was influenced by Simple Minds that didn't do as well as them, but you could hear the influence, say, would be then Jericho. And then you would hear just more... just bands with that kind of influence, whereas via Pop Will Eat Itself had gone back to the Buzzcocks, and those kind of influences. The early 80s had some great stuff going on, but there was also a lot of 5-piece guitar bands with synthesizers, which was like a no-no for us. And so stripping it back to new wave type of 2.5-minute pop songs, and then by being tagged with Grebo, it helped that it was a scene, and it changed things, I guess. Unluckily for bands, 5-piece bands with single frontmen and guys with keyboards fucking piled up, and a collection of Simple Minds records.
Yeah. I mean, that scene that you're describing, what's your take on the kind of the t-shirt band kind of thing as well? You and Neds and Carter were kind of known for selling shitloads of mostly long sleeve t-shirts, creating kind of tribes. Was that it's like intentional branding, or I mean, what?
It was purely to make money. Because I suppose Poppies had done it first. A shirt that wouldn't just have Gulp written on it, or something like that, right. In cartoon bubbles. It didn't necessarily say the name of the band. We saw how it basically paid for the diesel for the van that you were in, and then our manager was like, "Yeah, we'll do that," but we just put the name of the band on it, or put the little bit of the artwork from Unbearable on it. Neds were very creative with that, and Mega City 4, and as you say, Carter. But
Senseless
it was
Things.
just putting diesel in the van. None of us were, young marketing men. It was like, how do we make money to get to these gigs?
But do you think it did help to create that subculture?
Of course it did, yeah. Undoubtedly. I mean, when I had bands that I'd gone to see, prior to being in the Wonderstuff, so I'd go and see the Bunnymen if ever they came to town, the Furs, Waterboys. I might buy a program but I don't remember T-shirts. Certainly not when I was much younger and going to see the Jam and bands like that. You get the program, but there weren't any shirts. The only thing I can remember from being like a young fan would be Tom Robinson Band put the stencil in their first album, so you could make your own shirts.
I've got it on the shelf behind me. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, with the stencil intact. Yeah. That's interesting. And how else were you connecting with fans? There was no social media back then. Were you writing to fans and stuff, answering letters and that?
Did occasionally, yeah, because we had an address on the back of the first two indie singles. Yeah, I would do that. I would sit and handwrite letters back and say thanks. Not a great deal, certainly not every one, because I think that the little line on our sleeve said, write something interesting to the Wonderstuff at, so people would just put something interesting and stick that in the post. Yeah, got sick of that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the sound, stripping it back to kind of punky kind of 3-minute songs and stuff, but the sound did kind of gradually change. Was that intentional, or was it just whatever the song demanded? If it needed an accordion, then you'd bring in an accordion. If it needed a violin, then how did that process happen?
Well, first and foremost, after Eight-Legged Groove Machine, we didn't want to make Eight-Legged Groove Machine 2.
Sure.
It was that simple. Waterboys had released Fisherman's Blues in '88. So when we were touring Eight-Legged Groove Machine, I just had headphones on all the time, constantly listening to Fisherman's Blues. Again, that took me back to being into Dylan's Desire, which has got Scarlett, I can't remember her surname, playing violin all over like Hurricane and that. Okay, that connects with. And then I'd started to say to Malk, it was actually something my dad said to me, was why don't you, for this next album, why don't you write some songs that have got some sort of solo in it so you can take a breath? Because there's just no gaps in the Eight-Legged Groove Machine. It's just bang, 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 vocal. So I'd said that to Malk, and Malk was like, Malk's a fucking great guitarist, and he's like, I hate guitar solos. I don't want to do that. That's going back to the pompousness of those 5-piece keyboard bands. Malk's like, no. You might get like 2 bars out of him where he'll throw a riff in, because that's what Steve Diggle would have done, but he wouldn't do a solo. So I'd written with Malk, I'd written Cartoon Boyfriend, and I said, come on, let's try and get a solo spot, and he did something nice. And then I'm like, I also want a violin in this. So we got Martin Bell to come down as a session musician and say, can you put a solo here? And it was kind of like a toss up between the guitar solo or the violin solo. And again, I love the violin solo. Malk didn't care a toss about ditching the guitar solo. So yeah, it was very intentional not to remake Eight-Legged Groove Machine. I don't think we'd know how anyway. Our lives had changed so much. Everything. That time of writing Eight-Legged Groove Machine, we were still on the bus going to rehearsals in the rain. For the first part of it, me, Martin, and Malk still had jobs. And then by the time
what did you do? Can I ask?
I was a litter picker at the NEC.
And I've done a bit of litter picking in my time, to be fair.
It's amazing what you find. I found 70 quid in an envelope.
It's quite a satisfying job.
Yeah. 70 quid cash in an envelope with and I needed to see the Waterboys, but they were supporting U2, and there was no way I was giving money to U2 to be able to see the Waterboys. And then so I found it 70 quid. I split it with the guy I was with, and then I'm like, right, I can buy U2 tickets now to go and see U2. And so I saw the Waterboys, who were phenomenal. And then 25 minutes later, U2 came on, who were laughable. So I left.
Did you watch? Did you leave through the midway through the U2 set, or did you stay
midway through the first song, they opened with 11 o'clock TikTok, which I just thought was infantile. Having just seen a Waterboy set with the horns and the keyboards, and just was phenomenal.
That's great.
And then,
so you saw them and then fucked off. That's
brilliant. And then I'd got a bit of time for U2 because I like Pride in the Name of Love, which I think that was the tour that they were doing. I thought that was a good track, but I'd never heard 11 o'clock TikTok, and honestly, I just thought it was, as I say, infantile. So much to my then girlfriend's disappointment, like, "Can't, we're off." So what had happened between Eight Legged Groove Machine? We toured Europe, went out, did a couple of things in America, like radio station things. I don't think then we toured the Eight Legged Groove Machine in America, and that's where our lives changed forever. And at that point, there's no way we could have written another Eight Legged Groove Machine. The world just opened up to us. All of our lives completely changed. We got home from that tour, split up with the girlfriends that we'd been living with, or moved into a flat in London, like the Monkeys, and we're writing every day. So life had just changed completely.
So what was the tipping point? What was the tipping point that made you think, okay, we're going to take this seriously now?
I suppose signing to Polydor, really, and I never cared about our chart positions. It was the last single from Eight Legged, It's Your Money and After Baby, that broke the 40, which is, of course, what the record company wanted. I didn't care. And It's Your Money, I should add, only got to number 40, but Polydor were happy with that. I think Disco King maybe broke the top 30, which was a single between albums, which really should have been on the Eight Legged Groove Machine, but we didn't write it until it was after. I took more pleasure in Pop Will Eat Itself's chart positions. I'd be thrilled, when they got in the charts, and I found it slightly embarrassing, and particularly when we got invited to go on Top of the Pops. So I had absolutely no interest of that whatsoever.
We love
we love Top of the Pops. Why? What was the first time you went, and what was the song the first time you went there? Because you played it a few times, right?
Yeah, I think we did 7 times.
7?
Always always under protest. It was Don't Let Me Down Gently. Yeah, Don't Let Me. So that was the first single from Hop, which definitely went in. I can't remember the number, but it went in top 30. And I just felt like an absolute fool.
Is this like some like indie guilt thing going on? Why?
It's just so horrible. The audience members are little kids that have no interest in the type of thing that we're doing. They're herded around without even a bottle of water each, treated like shit.
Really?
All the sort of professional directors and producers at Top of the Pops were really unfriendly. Do this, do that. You will do this. You will do that.
Right.
It was just horrible. And worst of all, you had to mime. And I didn't learn to play an instrument. Didn't work on trying to be a passable vocalist. To stand there like a fucking pillock miming,
Yeah, I think we just loved it because we got to see all the bands that we loved, and we were glad that everyone else got to see them. But yeah, from that point of view, then obviously that's
much to my surprise. By then I was friends with the journalists that took an interest in us at, say, NME. They loved it. I knew Marianne Hobbs by then. And then we got married and spent a few years together, and she would tell me about that morning after your first Top of the Pops, like the NME office was just so excited. It was like the only one that had really come out of the indie scene, I think, at that point was Primitives with Crash. everything else was what you imagine Top of the Pops was in the early 80s.
Right. Do you remember who else was
then-
on with you that first time? What other?
No,
I was going to say bands, but
no.
not bands, artists. Yeah.
No memory of it at all. Just like, get me out of here. I feel unclean.
Yeah.
But that enemy excitement, that's what we felt as viewers, as we're like indie kids sitting at home. It's the only place to see the bands that, you know, our bands. It was the only chance, you know. So.
Yeah, we just saw
it
the
was
end product, I guess.
Yeah, it was the same for me when I was little. You know, when Public Image Limited would be on Top of the Pops. The Jam would be on Top of the Pops. Bauhaus are on Top of the Pops. And I love that. But I preferred watching Old Grey Whistle Test to actually hear what all of those bands actually sounded like when they played live. That was far more interesting to me. Yeah.
I was watching the Size of a Cow performance on Top of the Pops a few days ago, and you didn't even pretend to hold a microphone or anything like that.
That's the way you got to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It's great. It's great.
I remember making the video for it, which was a good laugh, but I don't remember the Top of the Pops version of it.
Yeah.
Well, can we talk about Size of a Cow? Because, like you say, you've been building up momentum, you've been having chart hits, you're going higher and higher, but that was like the big breakthrough, right? I mean, did you set out to write a hit?
No, I can still remember how it was meant to sound. I was walking. We lived at Great Portland Street in a flat there. The whole band did, and we'd had a parcel delivery card come through to go, you weren't in. So I walked to the Royal Mail at Euston, picked up the parcel, and then so it was a little under a mile. And then walking back, and I had this speech, don't you think it's funny? Don't know what it seems. And I pretty much had the whole song sketched out in my head. But the bit where it later went sort of middle age, that was meant to be a sort of J Maskus, Dinosaur Jr. absolute wig out bit.
Right.
So there was this sort of like a pop element. Oh yeah, I did have the piano idea because I'd always wanted to write something that took influence from a girl called Johnny by the Waterboys, which starts with that do 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 do. So I got into the flat, and there was only Malk in the flat, and he starts to say something like, "Hello, boy, do you want a cup of tea?" And I'm like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up! Where's the port studio? Where's the port studio?" And then a friend of mine still got the tape where I just hit play and record and go, "This is a piano," and then got most of the vocals down, then grabbed a guitar, got the chords. Mark was going, "Where have you got all that from?" And I'm like, "Just walking along Euston Road." He's like, "Well, it sounds good." But so it was, so there was no harm in doing pop because The Cure had done it so brilliantly. That was another band we all loved. The Cure could do, moody, they could do, atmospheric, beautiful, but they didn't mind doing Why Can't I Be You, which was out and out pop, or Love Cats, which was perhaps better than out and out pop. But so we had no problem with pop. And then by the time we got into, so we demoed it with Pat Collier, who produced the first two albums. And then by the time we did the sessions for real with Mick Glossop, he was like, "Okay, let's go to town on this." And so, loved XTC, loved Squeeze, loved Madness. And it was like, okay, let's mine all of them. Mick Glossop was like an encyclopedia of Beatles production. And so it was like, let's look at every bar of this track and wring every bit of classic British pop out of it. And it was just it was good fun. We learned a lot. Then when Polydor heard it, they said, "Yeah, well done. Just carry on with the rest of the album." And I'm like, no, release this as a single now. Like, get it out as a single. This is going to do well. And they were like, "Well, for a start, it's not a single." We're like, "What the fuck do you mean? It's not a single?" And it was great. It was really, it was sound advice, really, because so the man that was saying this to us was A&R man called Graham Carpenter, and he said, if you release this, it will change everything, the perception that everyone's got of the band. Yeah, I don't doubt it'll be a hit, but is that what you want? You're a rock band. Is it, you know? And I'm like, I just like kind of a hit, really. Get it out there. So under pressure from us, they did, and they released it before the rest of the album was finished, and it was a hit, and radio loved it, and I don't regret it for a minute. But Graham Carpenter was absolutely right that it did change. So the guys, the people that were into Eight Legged and Hop, you know, didn't like it when we played it live, and I still hear from them now. You know, they're fat and bald now, but they're like, "Oh, you're not going to do Size of a Cow, are you?" And like, there's a you know, a great deal of our audience that do enjoy it. I just go to the bar when you hear the piano.
Yeah. So did it? That's interesting. There was a backlash from that. Did it bring in new audience as well to the gig?
Shitloads. Yeah, it was by the time we were out doing Never Loved Elvis, it was. Touring that album, it was an entirely different audience. We did it. See, Bob Jones wasn't on it, but I think because we've been on Top of the Pops with Don't Let Me Down, that was Bob. Golden Green, the video was shown to it. See, we'd picked up a lot of youngsters then, and I remember Bob not liking that. He didn't like seeing kids on the barrier with big daft lads in DMs rolling around on their heads. It wasn't that he didn't like the kids; he didn't want them to get hurt.
Right.
So that had happened. So he left in December '89. So whatever the Hope tour, it had changed by then, but it changed drastically by Size of a Cow, and I think not just driven by the song itself, but also driven by how silly the video was.
Yeah,
you know, it was kind of kids friendly, wasn't it?
Yeah. But the whole album did well as well, right? It's do you know the first cassette player I bought using the Christmas tips money I got from my paper round. The first cassette I bought was Never Loved Elvis when I was 14 or 15. When I was those young kids that you're talking about, right? And I was brought in by that sound, you know, and it totally worked. So.
Yeah. No complaints. Absolutely no complaints. Yeah.
I think also probably lazily back in the day you got lumped in with the levelers now and again just because you both had violins in the band. You know what I mean? It was a bit of a lazy sort of.
I don't mind that. I love all the guys from the Levelers. They're a superb body of men, and they got some great tunes on them. We've toured with them in probably 10 years ago now, maybe a little bit more, but we actually toured the UK with them, and that was great. I don't see the similarity in the songwriting because you know, Mark's got a lot to say, and Jeremy's got a lot to say that it's socio-political things to say. I don't, and but, you know, I also know loads of people that would just go, I don't listen to lyrics. As far as I'm concerned, you're exactly the same. But I think the intent of the two bands couldn't be more different.
No, I think it was literally that you both had a violin. That's pretty much
simple. And I guess we head for choruses. You know, most of our songs, you know, we're heading for the chorus. And I think that's probably the same as the Levelers.
Yeah. Were you really not a fan of Elvis?
No, at the time. No, I wasn't. It wasn't. It really wasn't the person or the talent. It was how bizarre he became. You know, how he sort of shat on his own. You know, he was a genius when he started, and like, how did he become that thing that he'd become by the mid-70s? It was, you know, obviously now we all know why. It was bad management. It was bad prescription drugs. It was, maybe, you know, I watched it. Was it a Baz Luhrmann film, that most recent one?
The Elvis one,
I loved it, and I loved the music, and I ended up just feeling really sorry for him. Although he's slightly questionable, but you know, as a person by the 70s, but at the time it was meant to be more of a comment of like anti-showbiz and and a reaction against some of the things that we discovered in America that we didn't like.
I wanted to ask
Yeah.
about that. So, I mean, you did pretty well in America, right? And I was thinking, like, compared to other bands that were doing well, like Jesus Jones and stuff in the US, you were a bit more kind of quintessentially English to your
I
sound.
suppose,
Did
yeah.
did that work in your
Yeah.
favor?
Um, I mean, mostly we did support tours, so we supported the Mission,
Mm.
who were much bigger than us, playing much bigger venues than we could. Then we supported Susie and the Banshee. So it's kind of like two goth connected bands, I suppose.
Mm.
But did
Mm.
long tours with both of those bands, like 7 or 8 weeks.
How was that?
And it's great. Well, the Mission were our friends, so the Banshees was a little bit different. Became friends with them all after. I think they were under a lot of pressure at the time, and weren't very happy. So we didn't really see much of them, other than Budgie. Budgie, their drummer, was in and out of our dressing room and real friendly, but the rest of them were a little bit standoffish.
Mm.
But I still meet people and hear from people now that, like, I first saw you with with Susie and the Banshees or the Mission, and like that's and I can't think, not that mismatch with the Mission, but I think we were quite mismatched with the Banshees. But it worked, and then we probably did 2 or 3 headline tours, and we had Milltown Brothers on a tour with us in the States.
nice.
Picked up a band in Boston to tour with us on another tour called Public Works. Yeah, enjoyed it. It was good. And radio liked us, and for the most part, Polygram, which was the label out there, were reasonably supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the crowds different out there? Were they different out there to the ones over here? Like everyone says,
really
it's subdued.
They're completely over the top. It's
right.
It's like woo, yeah, like you're like, and I'm like, we haven't fucking played a song yet. Calm down. And they didn't really know whether that was meant in fun or whether I was serious. I actually was serious.
Yeah.
So that took quite a long time to get used to. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it true? I read this the other day. Like in America, like buying merch, it's like just something that everyone does at every gig. Like they just sort of queue up at the end, and no one goes away without buying a CD or a bit of merch. I don't know if it's just bullshit that I just read somewhere. But...
No, I wouldn't say it was that much different. I mean, it's very different in Tokyo.
Oh yeah,
is it
the way it's
all
done
about the
there?
merch?
Yeah, incredible. Love the way they do it in Tokyo. Yeah, you sort of, you do like a 90-minute gig, and rather than buying merch, they're given a ticket. This was
It depends on the venue,
but
but yeah, it depends. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then the ticket has a number, so that puts them at a certain place in a queue. So they do all the merch buying after, and then that's in like a large bar area of the venue that we played. And so they're constantly in this queue. They pick up their stuff. They've also bought loads, like record sleeves with them. And then in this queue, they come and meet the band. And that was brilliant. Absolutely love that.
That's a good way of doing it, right?
Yeah. The Japanese are very good at organizing things.
They are
indeed. They are indeed.
If the Grebo kids were not happy with Size of a Cow, how did Dizzy go down with the indie kids?
Well, obviously even worse.
Yeah.
Well, again, it picked up a new audience, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because I suppose Vic and Bob were just so everywhere, and particularly,
but they were so good though. They were great.
Yeah. So if you were a student at that time and enjoyed your cheap beers in the students' union, I mean, I should imagine things like that time, Size of a Cow, Dizzy were never off the DJ's decks, and
whose idea was it?
Jim's, Vic's,
right.
So I'd asked them a favor. We did rather self-indulgently did a football stadium gig in Walsall in '91 when Never Loved Elvis came out, and I bumped into Vic and Bob for the first time and just cheekily said to them, "Would you host our festival day?" So we had like Swerve Driver, New Fast Automatic Daffodils, my Canadian friends, Spirit of the West. Were Kingmaker on it? Can't remember. Anyway, but we wanted the festival to have a host, and I asked Vic and Bob, and he immediately just said yeah, and gave him the address and the time to be there, and amazingly they turned up. And the week after that, he phoned me and just said, will you be my band for my next single? Because he'd done Abide With Me.
That's right.
His first single. So we had a meeting in the pub, and he just said,
I took a single of that as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I went for the CD single of Abide With Me.
Sure.
And then he said, if you're my band, you know, and everything we did was like a front cover of The Enemy at that time. He's going, this would be a number one single. He was very excited about having a number one single. So then he said, these are the 3 songs you should learn. So it was Ring of Fire, Damnation Only Way by Hawkwind, and Dizzy. And I'd never heard Dizzy. So we went off to rehearsals and we learned all 3 and invited him down. And we'd learned the Johnny Cash Ring of Fire. But he wanted the Tom Jones version of Ring of Fire, which none of us had heard. So it's like, he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's not Ring of Fire. And like, it is. It's the version we know. Well, that's no good. And then we did a bit of Damnation Alleyway, and he was like, yeah, I like that. Now do Dizzy. And we did Dizzy, and he goes, well, that's obviously it. And we're like, okay, fine.
There you go.
So I'd never heard it. I don't know how I missed that. And then we just spent 4 or 5 days in the studio with the Never Loved Elvis producer Mick Glossop and did Dizzy. And then it was out really, really quickly. It just seemed like, we did that, and then it was like the next week going to do a video for it, and then we were on Top of the Pops. Again.
And it's number 1.
And then it's number 1. Yeah. 2 weeks.
There you go.
Amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. So we kind of finished the band in 94. It seemed you were still riding high at that point. What was the thinking behind that decision?
Sick of the sight of each other.
Yeah.
You know.
Happens.
Yeah, you know, you just spent all of your time together. Everyone was married by then. Everyone but me and Paul Clifford had got kids. No, Malk hadn't got his kids by then, but everyone was married, and we should have took a year off, perhaps. Which is what, when we told Polydor, I told the band I was leaving, I'm like, I'm done with this. I don't need to do this anymore. So it took me 8 years to be the cunt that Malk predicted.
That's not bad, is it? 8 years?
No, but that's not cuntiness. That's just being honest, right, about the situation.
It's such we've spoken to a few bands. It's such an intense environment in it, touring and stuff. So it's gonna, you know, it can't.
Yeah, so that was, life had changed again, you know. So we'd gone from being the kids that were all into the band, then being the band that had been to America, then changing everything in our lives, then to then seeking a bit of quiet and comfort, and just we did well commercially with that 4th album, but I didn't feel particularly relevant because, of course, the new bands that became Britpop were coming along,
right?
And we'd listen to all of that. You know, we'd buy all of that, and we had our own studio, and we'd sit and listen to them. So I remember hearing for the first time Suede. When we'd been out touring America, There's No Other Way by Blur was like every dance floor filler at the clubs we were playing. I think maybe Weirdo, Charlatans was doing really well in America then as well. So it had changed, and also we were living in grunge, and none of grunge appealed to me. It had no wit. It was full of macho, moaning dullards, as far as I was concerned.
Even Nirvana.
Yeah.
Really?
Saw them 5 times.
Remove your photo, Neil.
Saw them play 5 times. Did 5 festivals with them. So we got really friendly with Novoselic and Grohl, and never saw much of Cobain. Well, they were terrible. They were absolutely terrible.
Don't tell me this, man. Really?
We would stand there. My sound man and I is a record producer, still with us, Simon F. and me. And we would stand watching them and go, well, the drummer's great and the bass Chris is great. What's the singer's problem? Why does he try? Like, this is the 5th time we've seen him. Every single time. What's his problem? Why is he trying to fuck his band up? It's just, there were great 3-piece rock bands, Dinosaur Jr., Buffalo Tom. They were brilliant live. And then our favourites would be, our favourites would be of that time, Jane's Addiction, Faith No More, who was stunning musicians. They would have off nights.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's amazing. And then you've got Nirvana that's blowing up. And I remember Mary Ann gave me the album on a cassette. As a pre-release. I don't know if she reviewed it, but there was a cassette going around. She goes, we were off to Australia and she said, you should listen to this. And I said, I've fucking seen them live. They're terrible. I said, I ain't listening to that. And then she said, oh, you're a miserable bastard. It's going to blow up. And then we're in Australia. So got to Fremantle in Australia, opened my luggage and she'd put the tape in my luggage.
Yeah.
So, I told the rest of the band, and we're in a people carrier, and I just asked the driver, I said, put this on. And we were like, well, that's not what they like live. That's all right. But it is essentially the first Stiff Little Fingers album. That was the Wonderstuff's review of it. It's like, I've got this. Stiff Little Fingers did it in 78. I've already got it.
Wow.
And then, of course, Mary Ann was absolutely right. It totally blew up. And they were always awful live, even after they blew up.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
So what bothered me about the whole grunge thing? See, Jane's Addiction had wit. Faith No More had wit in fucking every pore. They were a serious rock and roll band. Yeah. So
there was no fun in the grunge scene, that's for sure.
It was. Oh, okay. So the over earnestness, like that Eddie Vedder kind of moany earnest. Yeah, okay, I get that.
Awful. It was 1975 again. It was heavy metal and right. It was awful. And then so Britpop comes along. Yeah, and then you had the obvious bands that had got wit. I always saw the wit in Oasis. Obviously Blur had got a great sense of humor. Pulp, brilliant. They're getting their moment. They've been working at it for years, and it was clever. But it wasn't anything I was interested in following in terms of our writing. And so just felt a bit I think, and Construction was a tough one to write, because I'd written pretty much everything for Never Loved Elvis, but it just came. It wasn't difficult. And when it came to Construction, I'm like, shit, I've got to write 20 more songs. I got nothing. I got nothing in me. I got nothing I want to write about. So I said to the rest of the band, all right, we got to go back to how we used to be. Malk, you got to start coming up with ideas. And we'd sort of outgrown each other, really. We didn't know what we wanted to be. Now, I mean, last year we toured all the songs from Construction for the Modern Idiot, and I think they're great. I wasn't very confident with them at the time. Even at the point we put the album out, I'm like, I'm not confident in this. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it fits. But not feeling confident and being sick of the sight of each other. Was like, and then so it was just time to take a break, which is what Polydor said. Just take a year off. They're like, we've done it with Weller, we've done it with Robert Smith. Take a year off. Don't write anything. Don't demo anything. Don't see each other. And then if we decide on this date is the date where we all go our separate ways, call us in a year. And see what you want to do. And I was like, no, I won't be able to enjoy that year if I know I've got to go back to this. So we shit Candid, which in hindsight was a mistake.
Okay.
But then if I hadn't have done that, then I wouldn't have made the Vent 414 record.
Yeah. I mean, how soon after that did that come together? It seemed to be quite soon.
I did almost straight away, really. Yeah, because Polydor didn't drop me. No, we're not going to give you your next advance, so because it's not going to be the Wonderstuff, but we'll give you some money. Which I spent it all on a recording system, which was ADATs then. It was before computers and ADATs, a nice mixing desk and monitors and stuff. And I just started writing the stuff 4 or 5 tunes that became the first few things we did for Vent. But I took the job at MTV, so I was presenting 120 minutes.
That's right. Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, I'd been on there a lot. They were very supportive of the Construction album, and I'd got to, and I lived like 200 yards away from there, so they would call me and just go, "Would you run round right now? Ray Cokes wants you on his live tea time show," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there in a minute." And then so I got to know some producers. Paul King had decided he was going to move to VH1, so they needed a 120 presenter, and Catalina de Baca just said, "Do you want a screen test for it?" And I said no. And then once I'd said no, I had like butterflies in my stomach, like feeling nervous about it. And I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. I like this. I like this. I haven't felt nervous about anything in years. All right, this is good. This is good. So I phoned it back and I said, put me on that list. I'll screen test. And they gave it me. But it was only like 2 days a week that I was actually, but 1.5 days a week, really. I was having anything to do with MTV. So I was using this recording equipment at home. And then my friend Tank, who'd managed Ned's Atomic Dustbin, had said, what are you doing musically? Because I've heard that Morgan Nichols from Senseless Things is leaving to look to do something else. And I'd never heard Morgan play at that point. And I'm like, what is he? So, yeah.
You're in for a treat. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tank took me to see him at the Powerhouse, the old Pied Bull in Islington. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? How can anyone do that? Yeah. And then so I had a little chat with Morgan. I'm like, I've got a couple of tunes written in, and he was in Richmond, I was in Camden, but I would post the cassettes to him, and then he'd post them back, and there was bass on them, and I'm like, this is insane. And then I was on a tube. It was quite an empty tube, and wherever it pulled up, Pete Howard from Eat, the drummer, who I'd been terrified of. I mean, we got along. We'd never fallen out 'cause we toured with Eat, but he seemed like a very, alpha male, and I'd say him and Jilks got on really well, but I'd never really spoke to Pete. And he got on the tube and just said, all right, Miles, have I heard right? Are you forming a band with Morgan Nichols? Because if you have, I have to be the drummer. Nice. And I'm like, you drum with me? And he's like, yeah, let me know what's going on. And so we did all that really quickly. And so it was great. And we're currently working on another one at the minute. I was just sitting here writing lyrics to one of the tracks today. So this time next year, we'll have a Vent album. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
27 years in the making.
I was going to say,
There we go.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's great getting back in the studio, because it's a producer friend of mine called Matt Terry. He's been on at me for a few years going, please let me produce a Vent album. And I'm like, look, I ain't making any more albums. I'm not spending money on making records. They don't sell anymore. You can't get your money back. I just, there's nothing I want to write. And he's like, God, you're a miserable bastard. And he's like, you're still relatively young. Let's do it. And I'm like, no, I'm not spending money or time on this. And he owns his own studio. So he said, what about I find a few days? It's a lovely residential studio near Stratford upon Avon. And he said, the three of you come in and just start jamming and we'll know. We will know whether there's a record. And the first day we wrote 6 songs, and the next morning we wrote a 7th. And it was ridiculous, because I looked at Morgan and Pete when we sat, headphones on, got our own mixing channels and all this in a beautiful chapel. This was only last month, and I said, well, all right, then we're plugged in. We can hear each other. What do you want to do? Do you want to do any of the old ones? And Morgan just said, I don't know any of them. So I said, all right, then Morgan start playing. Yeah, Morgan start playing, Pete join in, and I'll do something on top. And in a day, 6 tracks. So
incredible.
Amazing.
Great.
It does sound fucking, and it just sounded like us straight away.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Look forward to that.
What's going on? Yeah.
Brilliant. All right. Well, we kept you a really long time. Neil, do you want to ask our always?
Yeah, we asked this question to all our guests. If you could have been in any other band at that time, sort of late 80s, early 90s, who would it have been and why?
The Cult. I would have liked to have been the rhythm guitarist in the Cult. So Billy Duffy did a couple of months in the early Vent 414. We recorded radio sessions with Billy playing with us, because they'd put the Cult on hold for a while. Ian Asprey was doing the Holy Barbarians.
Yeah.
And Billy was just knocking around London, saw him in a rehearsal studio where we were starting Vent. And he was like, can I just come in, sit in, just play some riffs? I'm like, I fucking love that.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't really he was an acquaintance, really, but he was my guitar god. And I'm just saying, he's still my favorite British guitarist of that sort of era, and if not all eras. And so it didn't work out. Morgan and Pete wanted it to be a three-piece, and Billy had other ideas of what he wanted to do with the tune. So we went back to being a three-piece. But when we had okay, Bill, thank you. I said, you will at some point reform the cult. I know you will. I said, please give me a ring and let me be the guy at the back in a cowboy hat that's just backing you up. And he was like, all right, you're on, mate. And it's still never.
Could happen. Could still happen.
Could happen. Yeah.
Right?
Well, I saw them last summer when we were hanging out, and they don't have a second guitarist anymore. They have a keyboard player
there we go.
So
Yeah.
I think rhythm guitarist in the cult.
That's great. It's a great answer. Yeah.
Where can people find out what you're up to these days? Where's the best?
Well, what are you up to? Before that, what is coming up?
What are you up to?
So Vent 414's in the works. What else?
Yeah, we'll be on Vent for the rest of the year, really. We want to get the record finished by December, which is when I start rehearsing with the Wonderstuff. And then the Wonderstuff are going to tour Hop, which will be its 35th anniversary in December. That's just the UK.
So you do like playing the whole album?
Yeah, but we're going to do a set before it of like probably 35, 40 minutes of tracks from the 5 albums we've done in the 21st century.
Right.
So, so it'd be like a 35, 40-minute set of stuff that people don't know. But that we have written and recorded in the last 24 years. Then we'll do Hop, and then we'll do like a 20-minute encore of stuff that's not on Hop. So you're unbearables and all of that.
Hits.
That's December.
For everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And then between while that's going on, I do 2 or 3 acoustic gigs every month all around the UK.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What have you got a website that people can find you? Or
thewonderstuff.co.uk, or follow me on Twitter or Facebook, and I'm always letting everybody know. But the dates for the Hop tour are all there on the Wonderstuff website.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording if that's all right. And all right,
thanks for having me.
So there we go, Miles from the Wonderstuff. Like I said, next week, normal services resume. Join all 3 of us next week for the Stupid and Contagious podcast with a new 90s guest. If you are watching, then please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, get involved in the comments. And if you are listening, please do rate, review, and share it with your friends so that they can find the podcast. But that's it for this one. Join us next week for episode 107 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. I'll see you then.